During this exceptionally challenging period, African American communities are facing multiple pandemics, resulting in considerable challenges for both established businesses and budding entrepreneurs. The Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference is addressing these challenges by hosting our 18th and first fully virtual conference, offering the opportunity to expand your business's visibility, market reach, and ability to thrive during these exceptional times. In this virtual space, our impact is greater and even more powerful. The Umoja Marketplace Exhibitor Package includes immediate exposure through February 28, 2021, private online customization room to showcase products and services, self-designed exhibitor page, add your logo, information, links, and videos, 24/7 access for clients and scheduling, opportunity for vendor-based presentations, request information button, page visitor analytics, and professional technical assistance. We are expecting over 2,000 conference attendees and 12,000 visitors, including seminarian, HBCU student, global, and congregational engagement. As a non-governmental organization and NGO, we reach thousands of persons of faith and goodwill, and our voice is even present at the United Nations. Become an exhibitor today. Visit our website, sdpconference.info.
Celebrate Kwanzaa virtually with us every night, December the 26th to January the 1st, as we will have one service each evening, starting at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, in honor of the principles of the day.
What's happening, Proctor family? I have a big question for you. Have you registered to attend the 2021 Proctor Annual Conference yet? If not, now is your time to purchase your ticket before the first ever virtual annual convening. And why now? Because we want you to catch the December 31st deadline before ticket prices increase. We want to save you some money. For the remainder of the month, you can catch registration costs as low as $165 for general ticket admission, $135 for current seminary students, and as low as $110 for our sisters and brothers joining us from all across the globe. And on January 1st, all those prices are going to increase. If you have not purchased your ticket, we urge you right now to make your way over to our website, sdpconference.info. Secure your spot for the 2021 Proctor Annual Conference today, right now. We look forward to seeing you in our virtual conference space on February 22nd to 25th, 21.
gani? Good evening and welcome to the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference Kwanzaa Worship Celebration. Today is December 30th, the 5th day of Kwanzaa, and whether you are on Facebook, on YouTube, or any other social media outlet, we are so thankful you're with us this evening. Habari gani? Nia. Today we celebrate the 5th day of Kwanzaa, representing the 5th principle, Nia, purpose. And tonight we relight the Kanara by first starting at the center, relighting Umoja, the black candle for unity, and then working our way from the red to the green, from the outside in, relighting a red candle for Kujishagalia, a green candle for Ujima, collective work and responsibility, a red candle for Ujamaa, cooperative economics, and now a green candle for Nia, purpose. And family, we also celebrate this evening by hearing a sacred reflection from Reverend Dr. Christine and Reverend Dr. Dennis Wiley. Reverend Dr. Dennis Wiley served for 28 years as the pastor of Covenant Baptist United Church of Christ in Washington, D.C., where his wife served as a co-pastor with him for many of those years. Among his numerous civic and denominational commitments, Dr. Wiley is at the forefront of the struggle for freedom, injustice, and equality for all persons, regardless of race, class, gender, or sexual orientation. And likewise, his wife, Reverend Dr. Christine Wiley, is a significant leader in the justice movement in the Washington, D.C. community, and she serves on the strategy leadership team of the Washington Interfaith Network, and she was a founding leader of the D.C. Clergy United for Marriage Equality. Family, we are in for a blessing this evening. Habari gani? Nia. Amen and Ashe.
My dear sisters and brothers, my wife and I are delighted to think with you briefly today about the meaning of Nia, the fifth principle of Kwanzaa. When considering the short definition of that Swahili word, purpose, some may be inclined at first to interpret it in an individualistic sense. Who am I? Why was I born? Where am I going? How do I get there? What do I do when I get there? And what's in it for me? While there's nothing wrong with these perfectly natural questions, the extended definition of Nia stretches our minds beyond the narrow confines of individualism and compels us to embrace a broader goal. That is to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. This concept pushes us to embrace our culture and our history as an African people who share in the great human legacy Africa has given the world. In other words, Nia is not just about me or you as a person. It is also about us as a people.
And even as we know that Kwanzaa is a cultural African-American and Pan-African holiday, we also experience it through Christian eyes as we acknowledge just having celebrated the birth of Jesus. As Christians, we have asked ourselves at some time in our lives, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I in the right place? What is my purpose? Dennis has let us know that this question has to do with a collective commitment. It's not about a personal job or occupation, but a real sense of collective call. We also need to understand that in this call is part of recognizing who we are as a people, that we are heirs and custodians of a great civilization. We have a legacy to protect, uphold, and respect. We have pride as a race for all we have given to the world. We have to remember that as a people, part of our purpose is to stay woke, woke to guard, expand, and promote our legacy as a people.
So we'd like to address two things: generational responsibility and personal and social purpose. As I ponder the concept of generational responsibility, I am reminded of two things. First, as a member of the so-called baby boomer generation, which roughly includes people born between 1946 and 1964, I am grateful to have witnessed historical events like the Civil Rights Movement, the rise of independent African nations, the March on Washington, the emergence of Black Power, the rise of equal rights for women, LGBTQ persons, and other marginalized people, the increase of Black elected officials, the dismantling of South African apartheid, the turn of the century, the phenomenal developments in the area of digital technology, the election of the first Black president of the United States, the Black Lives Matter movement, the 400th year anniversary of Africans being transported to this country by a Dutch ship, as well as more recently, the first Black woman vice president of the United States. On the other hand, I am dismayed that the racial divide and so many inequities and injustices still exist in this nation and world that have particularly been highlighted during this year of 2020. Of course, this includes a deadly coronavirus pandemic that has wreaked havoc around the globe. In addition to a US president who, along with his supporters and sycophants, virtually ignored the atrocious number of deaths and illnesses in this nation and continuously fanned the flames of racism, sexism, police brutality, incivility, and political divisiveness throughout these so-called United States of America. While I fully support a generational response to these and so many other ills that plague this nation, the African continent, the African diaspora, and the world in general, I also strongly advocate an intergenerational response to these issues because I believe that just as much as baby boomers need to help each other, I also believe that baby boomers, Generation Xers, millennials, etc., all of us need to help each other as well. And I dare say baby boomers can learn just as much from other generations as we can learn from them.
And as we focus on this generational responsibility, each generation has to find their own sense of mission and responsibility and keep running in it to fulfill its purpose. I remember in 1983, 37 years ago, entering the ministry in a Black Baptist church. Perhaps I didn't understand the risk my pastor was taking at the time, but he was living out his purpose in his generation to bring gender equality into the Black Baptist church. I was the only Baptist woman in ministry in my seminary and my church at the time, but I knew I had a responsibility to live out my purpose. So I kept running in my purpose, in my generation at that time. As a person following my pastor's generation, it was important for me as a woman in ministry to live out my purpose in using my gifts. Something started to happen. Others in my church started to recognize their call and mission, and they started running in their purpose. I found it challenging sometimes to live out my mission, but I still kept running in my generation to fulfill my purpose and my mission. It was a God given responsibility to speak my truth. Sometimes you have to keep on running in pursuing your sense of mission, whether in the church, in the public square, in the streets with Black Lives Matter signs, or in the political arena. Years later in our ministry, my husband and I continued to speak truth to power. We kept on running and advocated for all people, the poor, the immigrant, the disenfranchised, gay folk, straight folk, all of God's children, running for the collective, all of us as African people in these United States of America, keeping our legacy in the forefront of our being. You see, you just have to keep on running. Running is an activity of terrestrial locomotion. It's different from walking because when you walk, there's always one foot on the ground. But when you are running in your purpose, at some point, all of you is suspended in the air with God. Fanon says, each generation out of relative obscurity must discover its mission and then fulfill it or betray it.
And finally, Karinga, Malana Karinga, the founder of Kwanzaa, says that Nia suggests that personal and social purpose are not only non-antagonistic, but complementary in the true communitarian sense of the word. In fact, it suggests that the highest form of personal purpose is in the final analysis social purpose. That is personal purpose that translates itself into a vocation and commitment which involves and benefits the community. As we noted at the beginning of this message, Nia is not just about me as a person. It is also about us as a people. Elsewhere, Karinga explains also that Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday, but a cultural one with an inherent spiritual quality. I mention that because I wrote my doctoral dissertation on Howard Thurman, great preacher, teacher, author, and theologian, who once preached a sermon at Spelman College, of which he was the dean of chapel. The sermon was entitled, "The Sound of the Genuine." Some of you may be familiar with that, and perhaps some of you may have heard it. And in that powerful message, he says, there's nothing in every one of you that waits, or I should say, there is something in every one of you that waits, listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. And if you cannot hear it, you will never find whatever it is for which you are searching. You are the only you that has ever lived. Your idiom is the only idiom of its kind in all the existences. And if you cannot hear the sound of the genuine in you, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. End of quote. Well, when a lawyer stood up to Jesus one day and asked, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" He answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said to him, you have given the right answer. Do this and you will live. But wanting to justify himself, he asked Jesus, by the way, and who is my neighbor? And at that point, Jesus told him the story of the Good Samaritan who took care of a man who had been injured and was desperately in need of help by the side of the road. And after Jesus told that story, Jesus asked the lawyer, which of these three do you think was his neighbor? And the three he was referring to were the Levite who passed the man who had been injured on one side, and a priest passed him on the other side. And the answer, the one who was his neighbor, was the one who showed him mercy. And Jesus told him, go and do likewise.
And as we continue to look at joining this personal and social purpose, how often is it that grown people find themselves asking little children what they want to be when they grow up? If they're really young, the child might respond, I want to be a fire truck. If they're a little older, they might respond, I want to be an airplane pilot or a football player. And if they're even older, they might say, who makes the most money? But as we grow and mature, there comes that question, what is my purpose? There's no problem having a personal idea of one's purpose. But in the spirit of Kwanzaa, when one's personal sense of purpose is connected to a sense of social purpose, meaning that it has to do with a sense of call and commitment that involves and benefits the community.
Amen.
This brings meaning and fulfillment into an individual's life, and it also enhances the community, which is really what is desired in this spirit of Kwanzaa. In order for an individual to be whole, there have to be real relationships. What are your relationships like? Real relationships where an acknowledgement that we are social beings can bring people together, and the quality of these relationships can bring engagement, learning, and ideas which can better the community. Are your connections and relationships meaningful to you? Do they make you a better person? As a person of African descent in these United States of America, it is not just about what you want or how much money you make. It has to do with realizing your purpose, and that in some way it is connected to our people, bringing help, healing, yes, and even purpose to others. I think about Jesus and the fellowship he experienced with his disciples, how he gathered with his disciples and taught them, and they went out to help and heal others. Education and what we can learn from our quality relationships can bring a sense of purpose and deep meaning for an individual and a community. It can contribute to the wholeness of a people. Our job as we seek purpose in our lives is to connect with others in quality relationships where a helpful communal sense of call and meaning can be advanced.
So once again, as we come to a close, Nia is not just about me or you as a person. It is about us as a people.
And you know, some years ago, my husband and I, we wrote a song and sang it at our wedding 36 years ago. And the words are,
for our people, everywhere.
who've been struggling in a world of despair.
For our people, we've got good news.
We're going to rise up today and stop singing the blues.
For our people who are suffering and dying.
Dry your tears, because there'll be no more crying.
For our people, a new day is coming.
And if we keep on working for freedom, there'll be joy in the morning.
May God
Amen.
bless you.